Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam, and I'm really bad at doing wrap-ups because I don't love them. The reason I haven't done a wrap-up in a while is partly because I was kind of hoping to finish all of my late secret TBRs, like my buzzword-a-thons, hoping that I could finish them in September the latest, so that I could just kind of include it all in one big wrap up and talk about it and pretend that I wasn't actually super late on everything. But it's going on too long and I can't keep pushing this off. So we're gonna discuss all the things that I've read in the last quarter, which is going to be July, August, and September, which is gonna kind of be a lot. So I'll try and make these quick. The reason I don't watch wrap-ups is they're just a little bit boring, just watching someone talk about all the books that they read over and over. I also vlog almost all of my readings, so I feel a little bit redundant constantly saying the same things and talking about the same things. But I know not everybody watches reading vlogs, and sometimes they just want to see the wrap-up. So I understand why they're good to do. Also, just for record's sake, it's good to know. But I just get a little bored talking about the books, so I'm trying to think of a fun and creative way to do my wrap-ups. Jan Agaton does a version of Sleep with Mary Kill. What is it? Burn, Reread, Rewrite. There we go. She does that little game for her wrap-ups, and it makes it very interesting. Kayla with Books and Lala, she has different questions. She does them in different orders all the time, so it keeps them interesting. I also want to find a way to keep them interesting so that I keep doing them. So yeah, it's really just for me, not so much for you guys. But we're gonna just jump right in to the wrap-up. There will be no stats. I'll have my third quarterly stats up for you guys later this week. But for now, let's just talk about all the books that I've read. The first book that I finished in July was no other than Hide by Kiersten White. Oh boy, do people hate this book. This was quote-unquote Kiersten White's first debut adult novel. Or it was just supposed to be a debut thriller, at the least. It felt more YA, which a lot of people had issues with. But I actually kind of liked it. It's very short. In this, we're following our main character, Mac. We're following our main character, Mac, who kind of has a troubled life. She was in foster care and is now in a shelter every day, and she gets the opportunity to partake in this competition game of hide and seek to win $50,000. But as all horror books are, there's a little bit of something going on behind the scenes that we don't understand. And basically that's what this book is. It's, again, very short. You're kind of bouncing through different perspectives during the competition, and I kind of like that. It kept me interested and engaged. I really enjoyed being in the know, where our main character had no clue what was going on, and I was like, I know something you don't. I found it to be interesting. I did end up giving it 4 stars. I know this won't be for everybody, but I am luckily in that reader demographic where I can read adult, I can read young adult. I don't have a preference. I enjoy both for what they are or what they're not, and I don't mind reading something that's adult, but it feels more YA because I'm used to reading YA anyway. If every book was set in college time, I would be fine. So yes, this was the first book. I read it for the Literally Dead book club. It was not a hit. It was not super well loved. I know a lot of people have its critiques of this, which is totally valid and fine, but I had fun. Didn't expect a whole lot out of it, and I love the cover. Also, look at that. I genuinely, for the first time ever in my reading experience, I read the book whilst looking at the map constantly. The next book that I read was an ebook, and it's also a graphic novel. I read Are You Listening by Tillie Walden. This was fine. It's magical realism. And truthfully, I've been on a journey with myself thinking magical realism just might not be the genre for me. But The graphics were pretty, the story was sweet, but also kind of sad, and truthfully, this magic cat really sold it for me. Without that, I don't think I would have cared about it at all. I was really worried that through the story it was going in a predatory direction, which kind of concerned me, but it luckily did not. In this, we are following an 18-year-old runaway who gets in the car with an old sort of family friend, and with said family friend they go on a bit of a road trip together to get away, and weird things happen after they find this cat. It sounds like a great story. I'm not gonna say I don't recommend it, because I do, but just know that it wasn't quite the story for me. The next one that I read was Princess Ever After. This is by Kay O'Neill, and oh my goodness, this was so cute and so sweet. I literally wrote in my Goodreads, I want Oliver. This is such a cute little story, and I can look past the insta-love and beyond fast character development since it's so short, but all the happy feels. And that's exactly what it is. I really liked this reverse fairy tale, if you will. We have a princess saving another princess, or a female warrior. I don't remember if she was a princess. I think she was. I think she was a princess. But she wants to be a warrior, and she goes out and she saves the princess from the tower, the little damsel in distress. And it was so cute. I highly recommend. This was a very short, I want to say graphic novel, but it's a lot shorter than that. It's definitely for kids, but I highly recommend. It was so sweet and so cute, and you just can't go wrong. The next thing I read to kick off Summerween in July was A Ghost Guide to Haunting Humans. This is written by Serena Dory, and it is 2 pages long. And it's basically what they consider flash fiction, which I hadn't heard of before, but I'm interested in it. I thought this was fun. I thought it was cute. I'm not gonna rate it just because it's 2 pages and it's not really a story or anything. This book also made me bump my Goodreads goal to 102. So that was cool. But yeah, I rather liked it. It was funny. It was everything you expect it to be. It's kind of like a satire. It was pretty good though. The next thing I read was Heartstopper, the mini comics by Alice Oseman. As you guys might know by now, I'm a little bit obsessed, and any extra content I can get, I will take. I know that the yearbook is coming out here soon in October, which is super exciting. So yeah, 5 stars. It's not even a question. Like, anything more with these characters is like a win for me. The next thing that I read for Summerween was Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I will recommend that you go watch the Summerween reading vlog if you want to know more of my thoughts, specifically with the individual stories as a whole, because I do rank each one. But I really loved this. If you want a good spooky time graphic novel, highly recommend. It's an anthology graphic novel, which I hadn't really heard of before, but I really liked that concept. And I really loved the different art styles for the different stories. Everything about it was so good. It had like this eeriness to it all. Oh, I don't remember what the stories were called, but I think it was the 4th story was my all-time favorite. It was about this woman who was seeing it was like a Rebecca retelling. The next book that I read for Summerween was the Literally Dead book club pick, The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Yeah, this book, Riley Sager, man, what are you doing? This is your classic woman in the window, Gone Girl, whatever tropes that they are. It was your standard female protagonist that drinks too much alcohol after her husband's tragic drowning in this lake, and as she is now being forced to move on this lake for sobriety, she continues her drinking, sees the lady across the lake almost drown, saves her, and then they become buddies, and then like weird stuff starts happening. I'm not gonna lie. Although I gave this 3 stars, Riley Sager has this hold on me, because I'll read the book. The same thing happened with Survive the Night. Read the book, Don't love it. Think it's kind of BS. Get a little bored. This one shocked me with the surprise, like the twist endings really did surprise me. I did not expect them, which I appreciate, but I look back on them so fondly. I don't know what it is, but in the moment, can't stand Riley Sager and his books. Afterwards, I'm like, oh, what fun. No, I had a good time with it. Like, what is up with that, Riley Sager? I don't get it. Yeah, I gave it 3 stars. I ended up having a good time with it, I guess. Yeah, that's it. We're done. The next story that I read was Haunted, edited and put together by Claire Buss. This is another anthology, but they're written short stories by multiple authors. I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. It was okay. Honestly, at this point, pretty forgettable, unfortunately. So I'd go watch the video because, yeah, I can't really talk a whole lot on it, but it was an anthology. Some were hits, some were misses. The next one I read was Clowns in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. I rather enjoyed this. I really did. I really thought the characters were memorable, but like not memorable. I could see a lot of my high school experience in the book, but in the Midwest. I overall did enjoy it. I don't read many slashers, but I did find this one to be fast-paced and interesting. Clowns are kind of freaky, and I didn't see the twist coming, which is always a good surprise, you know? I will definitely be picking up the second one in October. I don't remember the title, but Clown in the Cornfield 2 is coming out this year, so I will definitely be picking that up because I did enjoy it and I would like to see where this goes. I'm interested to see how long it might go, if it's going to continue after 2 or if that's going to be the finale. Is this going to franchise like all the other slasher things? Who knows? We'll see. And finally, the last thing that I read for Summerween was Pen Pal. What a book. I have so many mixed feelings. I'm not going to widely recommend this to everybody, but if you want a chilling story, highly recommend. It is a creepy pasta book. It's exactly what you're going to expect. It's this boy, now a man, but going back through his childhood memories and slowly puzzling memories together to reveal this big picture. And it leaves you questioning a lot. You don't get answers by the end, but you get enough, and it's very, very well done. I know that there was like a crowdfundme or something to help raise money to be published properly, which I think is really cool. There is a very well done audiobook storytelling of it on YouTube by Mr. Creepypasta that I would also recommend if you're interested. But yeah, I overall gave it 4 stars. I thought it was pretty alright. And the final book that I read in July, finally, was The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. Austin, my boyfriend, and I have been listening to this since like the beginning of the year basically, and we finally finished it. I gave it 4 stars, partly because the narration, the man who tells the story put on such a production. So much money went into this. It is so well done. If you can get your hands on that audiobook, I absolutely highly recommend. Like full cast, full production, background noises, like when you're in the pub, you hear conversations around you. It's so atmospheric. It is so, so good. But I don't really recommend reading it over many months because you will forget things and then you'll be confused and then you'll just be kind of listening like, yeah, totally. So, with that said, I do own this. I didn't even think to grab it, but I will be reading this again. I will probably read along with the audiobook in the future because the audiobook is just like too good. You can't not listen to it, you know? Now, August was the month that slowed everything down. It put me behind on a lot of things. It caused me a lot of headache. And mainly because Austin and I went to travel. We were gone for an entire week at a music festival. I was in the worst reading slump that I've been in, and I think it's because June and July I kept forcing myself to read things, and it just kind of kept putting me off. And then come the time for traveling and just being a little bit stressed, and I just kind of took a break from reading, so I didn't read as much as I have been, at least now. But the first thing I read was for my NetGalley reading blog. This was the first time I read books with NetGalley. I've started asking for arcs here and there. Nothing crazy, because, you know, gotta make them attainable. But the first I read was Wild as the Witch by Rachel Griffin. I actually pre-ordered this, and I got it. She's so pretty. I can't stop obsessing over it. I pre-ordered this through an indie bookstore up in Washington so that I could have it signed and personalized to me. It says, "For Sam, hope you have a hoot of a time. Owl, always love you," by Rachel Griffin, which I think is just great, because in this book we are following our main character. They all have names. I know they do. Iris? Yeah, Iris. Wow, I'm so good. I didn't actually see that in the synopsis. Iris has this hate towards the boy that she works with at her mom's animal habitation center, where they have wolves and her best friend owls, and she just does not like this boy. He gets under her skin, he bugs her so much, and with her magic that he doesn't know about because he does not like witches, she learned from her grandmother to put spells and curses and feelings and intentions into the earth. Cast them, but bury them into the earth so the magic goes away and no harm can be done, but it helps her relieve that stress. That's her coping mechanism after a traumatic past with her best friend. And I really enjoyed this. I gave it 5 stars, which is not too surprising because I really like Nature as the Witch. I thought this was good. I thought that the story was slow-paced, maybe not meant for a binge, but slow-paced, through the woods, finding this love, this slow burn, this romance. I really liked it. I can't say many faults to it. Also, like, maybe I'm a little biased. I too am in the Pacific Northwest, so like it is my backyard. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was quite well. The next book I read for that vlog was Stay Awake by Megan Golden. This is the author of The Night Swim, which I gave 4 stars to, and to no surprise, I gave Stay Awake 4 stars. In this, we're following our main character, don't know her name, and we're following her in a dual timeline. The past, the present, and then we also have another POV of the detective that's trying to locate her, because she is being looked for because she is like mentally not good. She falls asleep, she loses her memory for the last 2 years. She's terrifying. So she's got notes in pen all down her arms. Stay awake, trust no one. And when she wakes up, she's got a bloody knife in her pocket. That can never be good. So with that, she starts freaking out. She goes to places she's familiar with. Things have changed. Nothing's right. She's trying to figure it out. She's so confused. I really did not see the twist happening or the reveal at the end. There's like a few red herrings. There's a few clues along the way, but you're just kind of sitting there like, what? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I don't need that from my books. I don't need realism. That's fine. I thought that it was pretty interesting and pretty quick pace. I binged it in a day, no problem. And the final book that I read for that video was Tales of Nightmares. The editor is Lauren Rhodes, but this is a bunch of different authors coming together. They're all a part of WordPress or some type of Willy Writers. They're all a part of Willy Writers, which is this, I believe, Facebook group or just group in general of writers. And they've done, I think, like 5 different books in this series, Tales of Blank. And I got this arc like 2 months after it was released, but I still wanted to read it because, you know, when you have an arc, you read it. If it's there, you might as well. And I really like this anthology. Overall, it got 4 stars, which is pretty high for anthologies. Some of the stories were total hits, others complete misses, and that's just how anthologies go. I found a couple authors that I'm interested in reading more of. If you want to see my rankings for each story, check out the video. July is also, no, August, we're still in August. August is actually the month that I was catching up on Buzzwordathon, so that's when I really like started getting back into it, because, you know, when you're in a reading slump, it's hard to prioritize reading vlogs. And so I ended up reading All the Stars and Teeth by Adalyn Grace for my June Buzzwordathon. And I gave this 4 stars, more like a 3.5. I thought that it was good. It's piratey, it's on the ocean, it's a fun story. I thought that the story wrapped up really well, which is surprising because there's a sequel. And although I like the cast of characters, the plot itself was a little bit forgettable now that I'm reflecting on it. I've read quite a few things since then, and I've kind of just forgot, which isn't very fun. I know that we're following our main character, Adela. That's not right, but we're gonna just go with it. We're following her as she's heir to the throne, getting ready to be crowned, does a magic test, it goes horribly wrong, and she's exiled. Just like that. And so you're following her journey with her supposed to be fiance that she has no romantic feelings towards, but it's a business marriage type of deal. The convict pirate boy that takes her, and obviously is the romantic interest, and a mermaid. That's right, folks, there's a mermaid. I didn't see that coming. I think I also need to give this book credit because I finished it on a day that I was very ill. I was like half asleep, bedridden. I wasn't asleep for it, but like I couldn't do anything that day. So I was just closed my eyes and listened to it. It was very fun to visualize the story, but I think that's also part of the reason why I don't remember it. So it could be the book, it could be me, it's hard to say. And the final book that I read in August was The Book of Living Secrets by Madeleine Rowe. This is a genre-bending romance, historical fiction, gothic, sci-fi, fantasy, horror, and it was just too much. It was trying to do too many things and none of it was well. I was expecting exquisite vibes and a really dope plot because in this we're following 2 best friends that get transported into their favorite book, Mora, and it's the behind the scenes of the book that's going on that they didn't know about. It's different from the book in different ways. There's this like tentacle monster guy trying to just destroy things. It wasn't bad by any means, but it was definitely more character driven than I was hoping for, and there were a lot of characters. I just kind of felt lost, and then I was picking it up, but by then we were already well over halfway through the book, and then the ending happened and the epilogue happened and I said, huh? And I'm still not sure what it means. And I read a few reviews and they don't know what it means. So the story ending with such an open ending was very, huh? And that concludes August. It was rather small, it was rather short, and because of that, all of my Aurelium reads, because I was in a reading slump, I wasn't able to get too much, and then I traveled during the 40 hour, I traveled during the all-nighter, so I ended up doing that in September, when I actually had time and I was getting back into reading. So for the Aurelium all-nighter, I first read Sabrina the Teenage Witch. This is technically the second bound collection of the Sabrina the Teenage Witch Archie comics. I didn't like it. I gave it a very, very, very generous 3 stars. It really should be 2, but I've just been overly gracious with my ratings this year. I didn't love any character except for Harvey, who they treated so poorly. I didn't like the characters. I didn't like that the comics were out of order. Like, what's the point of going through? Maybe they were in order and whoever wrote the comics are just stupid. That was a little harsh, I'm sorry. But like, why is Sabrina not like having a party at her house one episode and then literally the next episode she's complaining that she can't have a party? It just, small things like that really bother me. The reading experience also kind of sucked because I read the ebook of this and the square was like this big and I couldn't zoom in at all and it just wasn't fun to read. So yeah, I didn't like the experience. I didn't really like it. There was only one story in the entire thing that I enjoyed. The next book that I read for the Aurelium All-Nighter video, you guys can watch it here if you want more thoughts, I read What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, and I gave this 4 stars. I did not like The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, not for me. I did not love the humor of the characters in that book, and that luckily was not a problem in this. This is super short, by the way, which makes it just so fun to read. This is an Edgar Allan Poe, the Fall of the House of Usher retelling, and I rather liked it. In this, we are following Alex Easton as they get a letter from their best friend's sister saying, "Hey, my brother thinks I'm dying. I'm scared. You should come." So Alex is like, bet. Alex shows up. Things are weird. Their house is weird. The atmosphere around is weird. Creepy things are happening. And we're just sat there like, what's wrong with the bunnies? Their hairs, but, you know, for joke's sake. What's wrong with the bunnies? Why are they acting weird? So, this is very short, and a lot happens. And I also read The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. This was like 19 or 30 between their pages. Not very many. And it is good. I need to reread it because the language was a bit hard for me to grasp. Like, modern English is obviously much easier for my little pea brain. But I thought it was good. This made it better. T. Kingfisher took that and said, I can make it better. And it focuses more on fungi and the hairs. The house is more creepy. The dying sister is more creepy. It answers a lot of questions that you would get from Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. And it fills in the blanks in such a creepy, eerie way. I thought it was very well done. And I enjoyed it a lot. So I would recommend this if you enjoy horror at all. The final book that I read for my Aurelium All-Nighter was An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. And I really liked it. I really enjoyed this. I had very low expectations going into it because it's Rogerson's least popular book of the three. Vespertine, Sorcery of Thorns, and then An Enchantment of Ravens. Yeah, I went into this no expectations and I came out right on top. I said, heck yeah, this is a good book. I gave it 4 stars. It was my first Fae book, a great introduction into Fae, I would say. I had a lot of fun being in the Spring Court with our human and our Fae prince of, I think, the Autumn Court, and getting to know Fae traits that way, getting to know our characters and this journey that they go on. Overall, I liked it. It's a little forgettable, but I think it's a story that I could continuously reread because it was just like a fun, comforting adventure. It's great for that spring, autumn transitional period. I guess you would call that summer. So I would say read it in the spring. Or like summer into fall. Yeah. After that, I actually ended up reading a potential favorite book of the whole year. A new favorite on my shelves. The first book that I've ever tabbed, All of Us Villains by Amanda Foody and Christina Lynn Herman. I highly recommend this, y'all. This is so freaking good. I basically binged this in 24 hours. Like, I didn't want to put it down. I read this also for the June Buzzwordathon, and it's so good. Go watch my video where I go into like more thoughts about it because I just gush over it even more. But we're basically following 4 perspectives, 4 out of the 6, 7, 8? 4 out of the 7 families, I think. 4 out of the 7 families participating in the tournament when the blood moon comes every 20 years. Families put one, I don't want to say tribute because that's too Hunger Gamesy, but they put up one of their kids to basically be like, go fight to the death and win our family magical powers for the next 20 years. Thanks! It's so good. They're all such terrible characters. They are the villain's POV. I'm hoping to read the sequel soon, very soon, for Sabathon. I highly recommend. It's just so good. It is... okay. I've not read The Hunger Games, so take this with a grain of salt, but it's better than The Hunger Games. Like, this is so freaking good. It's... they're so complex. These characters have so much to them. there's a little bit of romance, there's some death, there's some crisscrossing, there's just so much in it. There's the one bed trope in this. It's just, I love it so much, and I cannot wait to see where it goes in the next book, because like the ending, y'all, the ending had me hooked. Like, I tabbed this book up. You can barely tell. But yeah, I had so much fun. I cannot wait to continue reading it. And I'm sure, to no one's surprise, your girl read more of Heartstopper again. I actually read all of these in a binge over 2 days, I believe. I read the first 3.5, 2.5, I guess. Half of the third. Then I finished them the next night when I got off work. And they just, they make me so happy. And I love them so much. But at the same time, like, oof, they can be heavy. If you're not mentally prepared for the conversations in the third and fourth, like, they can be a little triggering. So as much as I love the characters, I do need to remind myself to be cautious when reading these. And if you also deal with depression or eating disorders or anything of the sort, they can be a little challenging to get through sometimes if you're having a bad day. The first two I will recommend to absolutely anybody with ears, because they are just so sweet and wholesome and cute, and I love them so much, and I cannot wait for season 2 to come out because I'm gonna die. And as I mentioned, the yearbook is coming out in October, and I believe the 5th novel is coming out early 2023, and I'm so freaking excited. The next 2 books I haven't really gone into a lot of details with lately because the video that they're in hasn't come out yet, but I finally finished The Ice Palace by Tarji, I don't know, sorry, Vessos, finally, since February. I've been reading this 180-page book since February. That's so bad. I finally got this off my current reads shelf. I'm so proud of myself. I gave it 3 stars. The writing was pretty. This is considered a classic. It's translated from Norwegian. I'm confused on the plot. It's a bit too big brain for me. I think I know what it was trying to say, but I don't know if I really understood what it was trying to say. You get me? So yeah, I read that. And I also read Lore Olympus Volume 1 by Rachel Smith. Oh my god, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I get the hype. I'm obsessed. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. As you might have noticed, I just love graphic novels. I love manga. I'm in the era. So I'm having a great time over here. I loved this. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I thought it was very well done. It's like a modern version, but there's pictures, and it's beautiful. The artwork, the color palette, everything about it, fantastic. So good. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, if I can read the second one sometime, I would love that, because I'm like probably a little over a third of the way through, and I'm just like loving it. And the next 3 books, technically the next 2 books, I'm going to talk about, I read in my July Buzzwordathon, so if you want more thoughts and details, you can check it out there. The first one that I read was The Plot by Jean Hahn Korelitz, and I gave this 5 stars. Do I think it deserves 5 stars? Maybe it's more like a 4. But I don't like changing my ratings after I think about books longer. I really loved the twist. I loved the twist. This is a love letter to literature, to writing, to publishing, to like the entire book world. So good. In this, we're following our main character, who's a writer, and he's kind of a one-hit wonder. He had one really good novel, one not so good novel, and then became a professor at this tiny little writing school that no one actually cares about. And he meets one of his students, Evan Parker, who wishes to go by the pen name Parker Evan for his wonderful, one-of-a-kind, never-been-done-before story. And unfortunately, a few years pass, a professor has moved on. His name's Jake. He's on a little writer's retreat. He's trying to finish another book, and does a little searchy search really quick, just, you know, curious how Evan Parker's doing, and turns out the boy died without ever publishing his work. And our little Jakey boy decides, I'm gonna take the plot and I'm gonna write that book. And this really goes into the conversation of, can you steal the plot of a book? How people feel about reimaginings and retellings, and like if you can steal words or not. And I thought that the conversation was interesting. I'm still not really sure how I land. I see both sides of the argument. Again, I really love the twist. I didn't think the story was like revolutionary, but as we're following the story, we're also following the story within the story. So if you don't like that in books, maybe pass. But we're following the story within the story. And although it wasn't anything crazy, I didn't see the twist coming, so it got me. I understand why the world was freaking out about it. Pretty well done. And hats off to the book. And the other thing that I read was The Cracked Spine, written by Paige Shelton. This is a cozy mystery, which we are slowly coming to learn. I don't like cozy mysteries. They're just not for me. I'm sorry, I can't. Random people investigating random murders, I just can't get behind. I can't justify it very often. It's just not. Doesn't work for me. I'm so sorry. But I did give it 3 stars. I like the atmosphere. I think if I was into cozy mysteries, I would like it. It's setting up many books. There's obviously a death close to... So our main character just like drops her life and moves to Scotland from Kansas to work at this like small little bookstore, and then the owner's sister gets murdered, and she like starts investigating it, but no one is really dealing with grief, and it's just kind of weird, and it wasn't really for me, but I know that's more just my taste for books. It's not for me, you know? And then wrapping up the last 2 books that I read, one being Book of Night by Holly Black. This was technically my 100th novel read this year. Guys, I beat my Goodreads goal. It is so freaking crazy. I don't know how I did it. I'm so proud of myself. I gave this 4 stars too. I rather liked it. I listened to the audiobook. This was my first Holly Black. I really went into it with low expectations. Reviews this year, since it's come out, have not been good. And I know a lot of those people are Holly Black fans. They've read The Cruel Prince, The Folk of the Air series. I have not. They were disappointed by this. I rather like this urban fantasy. I think urban fantasy might be a genre I like, because I liked the setting, I liked the gruff and tough, the con artists, I love the shadow magic, even though I don't really understand it. I rather enjoyed it. And it wasn't until chapter 28 out of like 36 or whatever where I was like, oh, Holly Black, this is not a standalone, what the heck, man? So that was a little disappointing, but I will be buying the book and giving it a physical reread before the final sequel comes out. But yeah, I rather enjoyed it. I thought it was quite nice. And the last book that I technically read October 1st, but we're gonna count it because I mostly read it in September and the live show was October 1st and I had to finish it, was The It Girl by Ruth Ware. If you haven't seen my video, which was in just like a normal vlog, I'll link it up here. I'm fine. Really. Don't worry about me. Fucking hate dogs. This is Ruth Ware, The It Girl. This was her 2022 release. There's been a lot of mixed reviews on it. I liked it. I gave this 4 stars as well. I listened to the audiobook whilst I read along with it. We've got dual timelines. We've got the before chapters. We've got the after chapters. We are following Hannah, our main girlie. Who was a little introverted, a little nerdy, a little quiet, not like other girls, you know. And she becomes friends with her roommate in college, April, who is just a selfish prankster rich girl who quickly becomes her best friend, and they just are so attached to the hip. April brings Hannah into her world with her friends in Oxford University, and it's wonderful. It gives you those dark academia vibes, and I was so here for it. I loved the before chapters more than anything. If this entire book was just the before chapters and it was more like a If We Were Villains, The Secret History, I would have given this 5 stars. I would have eaten the whole thing up. But I do appreciate what Ruth Ware did. I did enjoy the second half of the book where the after chapters really started picking up 10 years later after April's death. And Hannah is now pregnant with her husband Will's child. I thought it was rather good. I liked the mystery. I liked following the red herrings and being like, is it this person? Who is it? Who is it? Who is it? And then finding out who it was at the end. Did I suspect the culprit? Yes, I did. I really did. But I still thought it was well done. It had me like 1.5 times where I was like, oh, it could go this way. Crazy. And it just had me along for the ride. Like, I had no problem continuously reading through this. I didn't want to stop the audiobook. I didn't really want to walk away. I was very hooked. And my only thing in this book is that Hannah, our main character, is pregnant in the after chapters. So you're going to doctor's appointments with her. You're dealing with all of her symptoms of being pregnant. And that's not like the most fun, you know, but like, to each their own. Just be warned going into it. But I did enjoy it. I would recommend it. If you're into thrillers, if you like dark academia, definitely pick it up. I think you could have a fun time with it. And that is it. That's all the things that I read, guys. I definitely read a lot. Like, it's definitely more than probably the average person. I think I read 5 or 6 books in August, which is like my reading slump month. And I still would say, like, that's a lot of books. I'm very proud of myself. I'm loving reading again. Like, I don't want to stop reading, which is also a great feeling. So, yeah, don't compare yourself to others. Read what you want to read. Read at your own pace. If you're wondering how to read more if you want to know how to read more, the truth of the matter is audiobooks. If you want to read more, listen to audiobooks while you do chores, listen to audiobooks while you commute to work, listen to audiobooks in your spare time. If you're like journaling or drawing or painting, throw an audiobook on. You're gonna listen to so many. And the more you listen to them, contrary to popular belief, the more you listen to an audiobook, the more in tune you get with listening to them. So the more audiobooks you listen to, the faster you start listening to them. I started out on 1.2. I'm now at like 2 times speed. I can't read that fast, but I can listen to a book at 2.5 times speed while reading along because my eyes can follow that quickly, but my brain's not trying to say the words. Increases my reading like no other. So I highly recommend that if you want to read more, like all these crazy booktubers out here reading like 22 books in a month. I'm not quite there yet, but it's admirable to say the least. And so that's my little hot tip of the day. But yeah, that's it for this video. Thanks for hanging out with me and sticking around this long. Happy Booktober. Day something. Crazy. Look at me go. Thanks for hanging out with me all this time. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up down below. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. It's completely free and it helps out my channel so much. So do likes and comments if you have anything to say. What did you read? What's your favorite book of 3rd quarter? What did you really like? Let me know. I'm reading a lot of books right now, so I might actually pick it up. Cool. Well, that's going to be it from me. Thank you guys for watching and hanging out with me. I will see you guys very soon. Tomorrow I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!